Most people spend their entire lives learning how to do things faster, but almost no one is taught how to think more clearly. We go to school, we memorize, we repeat, we perform, and somehow we reach adulthood without ever being shown how the mind itself actually works. Charlie Munger understood this very early in life, not in a dramatic way, not with fireworks or sudden revelations, but slowly, quietly, thoughtfully, and what he realized was simple, and at the same time deeply unsettling, that success, wealth, and wisdom are rarely about brilliance, they are about avoiding stupidity. Now, let that sit for a moment, not becoming a genius, not discovering a secret formula, just not repeatedly making the same avoidable mistakes that most people make every single day. Munger never spoke like a motivational speaker. He didn't try to excite crowds or sell dreams. He spoke the way a careful craftsman works, patiently, deliberately, with respect for reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. And what schools often miss is that real. Thinking is not about collecting information. It's about arranging understanding. It's about seeing the world clearly enough to not fight against it. The first rule he lived by was learning how to sit with reality without flinching. Most people avoid reality when it becomes uncomfortable. They soften it. They explain it away. They tell themselves stories that feel better. But reality does not negotiate. It does not care how intelligent you are or how hard you tried. Munger believed that progress begins when you are able to say calmly and honestly, this is how things actually are, not how they should be, not how they might be one day, but how they are right now. If a business is failing, admit it. If an idea is flawed, let it go. If you don't understand something, say so. There is N. Oh, shame in clarity. The shame comes from self-deception. And this way of thinking applies far beyond money. It applies to relationships, habits, health, and time. When you stop arguing with reality, you stop wasting energy, and that energy, quietly saved, begins to compound. The second rule was learning across disciplines. Munger often said that you don't need to know everything, but you must ken. Out the big ideas from the big fields. Life does not happen in neat academic boxes. Economics bleeds into psychology. Psychology bleeds into biology. Biology bleeds into physics. And yet, we are taught to think in isolated compartments. Munger refused that. He believed that a person with a few powerful mental models from different areas would outperform someone with deep knowledge in only one. Think about how often people fail, not because they lacked effort, but because they misunderstood human behavior, or incentives, or second-order consequences. A decision that looks good in theory can collapse in practice, because people don't behave like equations, they behave like humans. When you understand that incentives drive behavior, that emotions distort judgment, that systems react in expected ways, you stop being surprised by outcomes. And when you stop being surprised, you stop panicking. You start thinking. The third rule was patience. Deep, almost uncomfortable patience. Munger believed that the world rewards those who can sit still while others rush. And this is incredibly difficult because doing nothing feels like falling behind. We live in a culture that celebrates ocean, activity, constant action, but much of that action is noise. Munger waited, he observed, he allowed understanding to mature, and when the right opportunity appeared, he acted decisively. This kind of patience is not laziness, it is restraint. It is the discipline of not forcing outcomes before they are ready. In life, as in investing, most mistakes come from impatience, from the need to feel productive, from the discomfort of uncertainty. But clarity often arrives slowly, like dawn, not suddenly, but quietly, almost unnoticed, until the light is simply there. The fourth rule was understanding human bias, not just in others, but in himself. Munger knew that the human brain is not a neutral observer. It is a storyteller. It wants coherence. It wants to be right. It wants comfort. We favor information that confirms what we already believe. We ignore what threatens our identity. We become loyal to ideas, not because they are true, but because they are familiar. Munger spent much of his life studying the ways the mind deceives itself, and instead of feeling superior about it, he felt cautious. He assumed he was biased. He assumed he was missing something, and that humility became a strength. When you expect to be wrong sometimes, you design your life to survive mistakes. You build margins of safety. You avoid fragile systems. This is why Munger admired simplicity. Simple ideas, simple structures, simple decisions. Complexity hides errors. Simplicity exposes them. And finally, the fifth rule was long-term thinking. Not optimism, not blind hope, but patience. Aligned with time. Munger understood compounding, not just of money, but of habits, knowledge, and character. Small improvements, repeated consistently, outperform dramatic efforts that fade. He wasn't interested in quick wins. He was interested in staying in the game, in avoiding catastrophic loss, in letting time do the heavy lifting. When you think long-term, you stop asking, what can I gain right now? And start asking, what can I avoid that would ruin me later? This shift changes everything. It changes how you choose partners, how you spend your attention, how you react to short-term noise. You become calmer, less reactive, more selective. And gradually, almost imperceptibly, your life begins to feel less chaotic. Now, what schools often fail to teach is that intelligence is in. OT enough? Hard work is not enough. Talent is not enough. Without clear thinking, all of these become dangerous. Munger didn't believe in chasing success. He believed in building a mind that naturally made fewer bad decisions. And when bad decisions decrease, good outcomes increase, not dramatically, but steadily. This is not a philosophy of urgency. It is a philosophy of alignment, of living in harmony with reality, with human nature, and with time. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this way of thinking is that it is quiet. There is no need to announce it, no need to prove anything. You simply notice that over years things improve, not because life becomes easy, but because you become less confused. And in that clarity, there is a certain peace, a sense that you are no longer fighting the current, but learning how to move with it. So when people ask what Charlie Munger really taught, it was not how to get rich quickly. It was how to live intelligently without self-deception, how to respect reality, how to think patiently, how to stay humble in the face of complexity, and how to let time quietly and steadily be your ally. And if you sit with these ideas long, not rushing them, not turning them into slogans, you may notice something subtle. Your thinking slows, your reactions soften, your choices become clearer. And in that space, that calm, deliberate space, life begins to make a little more sense, not loudly, not dramatically, but gently. Charlie Munger believes success isn't about being brilliant. It's about consistently avoiding obvious mistakes. This idea sounds almost too simple at first, and maybe that is why it feels so powerful when you really sit with it. We grow up believing that success belongs to the smartest people in the room, the fastest thinkers, the ones with rare talent or extraordinary insight. But Munger quietly challenged that belief. He suggested that life does not reward brilliance as much as it punishes carelessness. If you look closely at most failures, they don't come from a lack of intelligence. They come from ignoring reality, from rushing decisions, from letting emotions take control, or from repeating the same errors again and again. People often lose not because they didn't know enough, but because they acted when they should have waited, trusted when they should have questioned, or followed the crowd when they should have stepped back. These are not complex mistakes. They are obvious in hindsight, yet incredibly common. Munger understood that the world is already difficult enough without us making it harder through poor judgment. He believed that if you could simply remove the biggest sources of error from your life, impulsiveness, overconfidence, envy, and denial, you would automatically move ahead of most people, not by doing something extraordinary, but by refusing to do what is foolish. This way of thinking removes a great deal of pressure. You no longer have to be the smartest or the most creative. You don't need perfect timing or a revolutionary idea. You just need to protect yourself from predictable mistakes. That might mean saying no more often than yes. It might mean admitting when you don't understand something instead of pretending that you do. It might mean walking away from opportunities that look exciting but carry hidden risks. What makes this philosophy especially powerful is that it works quietly over time. Avoiding bad decisions may not feel like progress in the moment. There is no applause for not making a mistake, no recognition for walking away at the right time. And yet, over the years, this discipline compounds. While others are busy recovering from avoidable losses, you are still standing, still learning, still moving forward. Munger often emphasized that life is not about making perfect decisions. It's about staying out of serious trouble. If you can avoid the mistakes that destroy careers, relationships, health, or reputation, you give yourself the chance to benefit from time. And time, when combined with steady judgment, becomes one of the most powerful forces in the world. In the end, this idea invites a calmer approach to life. Instead of chasing brilliance, you focus on clarity. Instead of trying to win every move, you try not to lose badly. And in doing so, you may discover that success arrives not through dramatic breakthroughs, but through the quiet strength of consistent, sensible choices made again and again. Charlie Munger believes success isn't about being brilliant, it's about consistently avoiding obvious mistakes. This idea sounds almost too simple at first, and maybe that is why it feels so powerful when you really sit with it. We grow up believing that success belongs to the smartest people in the room, the fastest thinkers, the ones with rare talent or extraordinary insight. But Munger quietly challenged that belief. He suggested that life does not reward brilliance as much as it punishes carelessness. If you look closely at most failures, they don't come from a lack of intelligence. They come from ignoring reality, from rushing decisions, from letting emotions take control, or from repeating the same errors again and again. People often lose not because they didn't know enough, but because they acted when they should have waited, trusted when they should have questioned, or followed the crowd when they should have stepped back. These are not complex mistakes. They are obvious in hindsight, yet incredibly common. Munger understood that the world is already difficult enough without us making it harder through poor judgment. He believed that if you could simply remove the biggest sources of error from your life, impulsiveness, overconfidence, envy, and denial, you would automatically move ahead of most people, not by doing something extraordinary, but by refusing to do what is foolish. This way of thinking removes a great deal of pressure. You no longer have to be the smartest or the most creative. You don't need perfect timing or a revolutionary idea. You just need to protect yourself from predictable mistakes. That might mean saying no more often than yes. It might mean admitting when you don't understand something instead of pretending that you do. It might mean walking away from opportunities that look exciting but carry hidden risks. What makes this philosophy especially powerful is that it works quietly over time. Avoiding bad decisions may not feel like progress in the moment. There is no applause for not making a mistake, no recognition for walking away at the right time, and yet, over the years, this discipline compounds. While others are busy recovering from avoidable losses, you are still standing, still learning, still moving forward. Munger often emphasized that life is not about making perfect decisions. It's about staying out of serious trouble. If you can avoid the mistakes that destroy careers, relationships, health, or reputation, you give yourself the chance to benefit from time. And time, when combined with steady judgment, becomes one of the most powerful forces in the world. In the end, this idea invites a calmer approach to life. Instead of chasing brilliance, you focus on clarity. Instead of trying to win every move, you try not to lose badly. And in doing so, you may discover that success arrives not through dramatic breakthroughs, but through the quiet strength of consistent, sensible choices made again and again. Most people don't lose because they are unlucky, they lose because they refuse to face reality as it is. Yuli is. 500-word mind extend Cardu. Most people don't lose because they're unlucky. They lose because they refuse to face reality as it truly is. This idea can feel uncomfortable at first because it gently removes the comfort of blaming chance, fate, or other people. But it also offers something far more valuable in return: clarity. When we blame bad outcomes on luck alone, we stop examining our own thinking. When we face reality honestly, we regain the power to change. Human beings have a natural tendency to soften the truth. We reinterpret facts in ways that protect our ego. We explain away warning signs. We tell ourselves that things will somehow work out, even when the evidence suggests otherwise. This is not because we are weak, but because reality can be emotionally demanding. It asks us to admit when we are wrong, when an idea is failing, or when our efforts are not producing the results we hoped for. Charlie Munger understood that denial is far more dangerous than ignorance. Not knowing something can be fixed. Refusing to see something cannot. When people avoid reality, they continue making the same decisions while expecting different outcomes. Over time, small errors grow into serious consequences. Businesses collapse not overnight, but after years of ignoring obvious problems. Relationships break down not because of a single moment, but because difficult truths were never addressed. Facing reality does not mean becoming cold or pessimistic. It means seeing clearly without adding comforting stories. If a plan is not working, admit it. If a habit is harming you, acknowledge it. If your assumptions are wrong, adjust them. Reality is not an enemy. It is feedback. The sooner you listen, the less painful the lesson becomes. Munger believed that progress begins with asking simple, honest questions. What is actually happening? What am I missing? Where could I be wrong? These questions create space for improvement. They replace emotional reactions with thoughtful observation. And they prevent you from doubling down on mistakes just to protect your pride. Many people confuse optimism with ignoring reality. But true optimism is grounded in truth. It comes from knowing where you stand and choosing your next step wisely. When you face reality, you stop wasting energy on denial and start using it to adapt. You become more flexible, more resilient, and less surprised by outcomes. Over time, this habit builds quiet strength. You beg to notice problems earlier. You make fewer desperate decisions. You stop being shocked by predictable results. While others feel repeatedly unlucky, you start to see patterns. And once you see patterns, you can change them. In the end, refusing to face reality does not protect you from pain, it delays it. Facing reality early may feel uncomfortable, but it is almost always less costly than avoiding it. And with that clarity comes a deeper sense of control, not over the world, but over your own decisions. Knowing a little psychology, economics, and human behavior together is far more powerful than mastering just one subject. This idea challenges the way most of us are taught to learn. From an early age, we are encouraged to specialize, to go deep into a single field, and to measure intelligence by how much information we can store in one narrow area. While specialization has its place, life itself does not operate in isolated compartments. Real problems are rarely purely economic, purely psychological, or purely technical. They are mixtures of many forces acting at once. Charlie Munger understood that the world is a system of interconnected causes. A decision that looks good on a spreadsheet can fail because it ignores human emotion. A well-intentioned policy can produce negative results because it misunderstands incentives. A logical plan can collapse simply because people behave differently under pressure than they do in theory. When you study only one subject, you risk seeing the world through a single lens, and that lens can distort reality. By learning a little from multiple disciplines, you begin to see patterns instead of isolated facts. Psychology helps you understand why people act against their own interests. Economics explains how incentives shape behavior, often more powerfully than rules or intentions. An understanding of human nature reminds you that fear, pride, habit, and social pressure influence decisions more than logic alone. When these ideas come together, they form a more accurate picture of how the world actually works. This approach does not require becoming an expert in everything. It requires curiosity and humility. You collect a small set of powerful ideas and carry them with you, applying them whenever you make decisions. Over time, this way of thinking reduces surprises. Outcomes start to make sense, even when they are disappointing. In the end, wisdom is not about knowing more than others. It is about understanding how different forces interact. When you think across disciplines, your judgment becomes calmer, your decisions more balanced, and your understanding of life more grounded in reality. Patience, according to Charlie Munger, is not waiting. It's the discipline to not act at the wrong time. This idea turns the calm definition of patience upside down. Most people think patience means doing nothing, staying passive, or simply enduring delay. But Munger saw patience as an active form of self-control. It is the ability to resist the urge to move before understanding is complete. It is the strength to remain still while others feel pressured to act. In modern life, speed is often praised more than accuracy. We are rewarded for quick responses, fast decisions, and constant activity. This creates a subtle anxiety, a feeling that if we are not acting, we are falling behind. Munger recognized that this pressure leads people into unnecessary mistakes. Acting at the wrong time, even with good intentions, can be more damaging than not acting at all. True patience requires clarity. It means observing, think, and allowing situations to unfold enough for their true nature to become visible. Many opportunities look attractive on the surface, but reveal their weaknesses only with time. By waiting, you allow emotion to settle and information to accumulate. You give yourself the chance to see what others miss in their rush. This kind of patience is uncomfortable because it demands restraint. It asks you to sit with uncertainty instead of escaping it through action. Yet it is precisely this discomfort that protects you. When you avoid premature decisions, you avoid committing resources, time, or reputation to paths that are poorly understood. Munger believed that great outcomes often come from a few well-timed ions, not constant movement. Most of life is spent preparing, learning, and waiting. The key moments are rare, and they reward those who are ready but not restless. In the end, patience is not about slowing down life. It is about aligning action with understanding. When you act only when the time is right, your decisions carry more weight, fewer regrets, and a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you did not rush into what could have been avoided.